Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel, and this week I wanted to share with you a project that I've pretty much just finished, possibly a couple of additions further down the line, but for now happy with what I've achieved, and I just wanted to share it with you. This is my Pendragon 10mm Carthaginian army. Originally we decided at the club to set this up with the view to playing the new Saga game, but as this has taken 18 months, 2 years to complete alongside the other bits and pieces I've been doing, it could be used for that, or it could be used for a multitude of ancient warfare sets. So what I wanted to do is just share with you some of the figures, the basing approach I've taken, and hopefully you'll enjoy what you see and get some tips for how you can do your own Punic Wars forces. So zooming in, let's start with, as you can see here, these are Gauls. They've been based for light infantry purposes. They're more of a skirmish line than a main line, and this is probably one element of the force that I would like to expand going forward and actually have some bread and butter Celt stroke Gauls for the front line of my Hannibal Carthaginian Punic Wars force. But for now, that was all I could find available through Pendragon. I may have to look elsewhere for some further Gaelic types, but let's just show you. Hopefully you can see those if I zoom them in. Again, they're quite, I'm not one of these people who can paint all the exciting tattoos and paint schemes on their skin, but they're nice little models. I'm going to share the basing scheme I've taken with you at the end, but hopefully you can get a flavour for that here. And if this will zoom in, we'll just give it a chance to, let's pop it down here, maybe a little bit easier actually. There we go. You'll see the cracked earth approach that I've taken there, as well as tufts and some other bits and pieces in there as well. So I'll show you a little bit more on that in a moment, but that's the Gauls stroke Celts. At the back, probably my favourite troops of this era are the Numidian horse. I've gone for quite a large unit of these, so I've got the opportunity to break them into smaller units depending on the game I'm playing. And again, let's zoom those in so you can sort of see them a little bit easier. Again, apologies for the shade here, shading with the light the way it is, but again, the poses with Pendragon were very similar in these packs, but to be honest, they're a very easy figure to paint, because the Numidians really, other than some white cloth clothing and basic shields and spears, that javelins, that was pretty much it. So we've got a nice size force of those to complement the army overall. I did 10 stands of those, and then at the back on the high ground here we've got the Spanish or Carthaginian heavy armor, heavy cavalry. So these guys, you can see, are better equipped, mainly with sort of long spears, swords and shields, a little bit of armor as well. But again, hopefully if I bring that over into the light a little bit more, you can kind of see the details on those ones. Really nice sculpts. This is one of the command figures. So these are the guys, would be my kind of mobile reserve really. and we've got 5 stands of those at the moment printed up there, painted up there. Then we've got Hannibal himself. I've chosen to put him on a slightly larger base for the purposes of the visual effect, and I've sort of mounted him on some raised terrain there as well, like a rocky outcrop, which I will explain a bit more in the basing approach that I took, and with a couple of his sort of citizen Carthaginian spearmen there as sort of bodyguard. But again, happy with that. These chaps here are the citizen spearmen or Libyan spearmen, depending on what you want to use them as, but fundamentally you can see they're all equipped again the same. And again, if we take that out of there, let's again just pop that into a slightly better visual for you. There we go. So you can see I've just done some fairly basic sort of shield patterns on there, but these chaps, again, you can get a kind of flavour of their equipment, and again, the sculpts on these, there were 2 or 3 various types, which again you'll see in the line that I've done there. So again, we've got 6 stands there, including a command stand on the end with a mounted officer. And then over here we've got some light archers. Again, you could use them as any type of archer unit, light archers, normal archers, but generally sort of skirmishing. Lovely little poses. Just got 4 stands of those. We've then got some further ones here. Again, sorry for the shadow. Again, these are I believe the Iberian infantry. So let's just try and get a little bit of a better. There we go. You can probably see by the helmets, these would be Spanish types. The little small shields on the end there. And again, quite pleased with how they came out. But again, a few different scalps. You'll see some of these have got the little Spanish swords, others are with javelins, spears, whatever you want to fundamentally equip them with when you're playing the game. But again, we've got 5 stands of those. We've then got some citizen javelin men, 6 stands of those. Again, you can kind of see how I've done those. Again, they could be citizen, they could be Spanish, depending on what you want to use them as. In this period, they're very similar outfits. I won't say uniforms because this is ancients, but you could get away with using them for either. These are my big unit, which again would be multiple units in games of citizen spearmen. As you can see there, we've got lots of bases. I believe I've done 18 of those. Again, you can kind of just get a feel for the uniformity of these chaps. But they were the first troops I started with, were the bread and butter ones, those ones. I painted them before anything else to feel like I had my kind of bulk standard force in hand. Again, we've got 3 commanders leading different elements there, so again you can break these up into subunits as you see fit. And then at the back we've got what I would call my Brutians, or Italian, very similar kind of to imitation legionaries, except these are good quality heavy infantry. The short stabbing swords, Roman kind of shields, and good armor. So again, they would be a good reserve infantry, or the heavy chaps. Got mounted officer there, and then at the front, everyone's favourite, we have the elephants. So again, I've got 4 of these. Show you those a little bit closer up as well. You can get that out of the there you go. So I was pleased with how the elephants came out, particularly the colours on the elephants. I did a combination of washes and dry brushes until I got it sort of how I wanted it. I didn't want them to be grey. I didn't want them to, you know, I wanted them to look washed, and I think the details have come out really well on the elephants. These are lovely little sculpts, actually, with your 2 chaps sitting on the top there. These are obviously African elephants, so the smaller ones. The poses are all the same, but I've done 4 of those for now. So that's the main force. I just wanted to talk a little bit about basing and how I did that as well, and we'll go into a little bit more detail around that now. Okay, so first of all, I'll talk a little bit about the command stand, Hannibal stand here. I used some foam board to make the rocky outcrop, and then covered that in PVA with the usual kind of grit of your choice over the top. Let that all dry, washed it, dry brushed various sand colors using the Bacchus basing system, and various tufts, etc. Put on there to get that. How did I get the crackled effect? Well, this, as was the same with all my bases, I'll show you a couple more here. Let's see, you can see the crackled effect, was using this wonderful stuff, Citadel Colour Technical Agrellan Earth. Quite decent sized pots as well, but this is brilliant stuff. So the procedure I took here was to paint the base in a basic brown, glue the figure on, and then around the base of the figure and sort of the outlying area, I used the general Bacchus basing system with the grit PVA'd on, washed it in the brown, and then before I did the highlights, I then painted the Agrellan all around the edges of the base, let that dry with its crackled effect, which comes automatically, and then dry brushed the sand colors from the basing set over the top of all elements of the base before sticking on the tufts that you see there. So you end up with some quite interesting effects. You get this kind of cracked earth effect in different elements of the base, and actually it sort of takes your eye off the bases of the figures themselves when you start looking at it. I've done black all around the edges of the bases, which I think is just a personal preference for me. I quite like looking at them like that. They just look a bit tidier for me, but some people probably wouldn't like that because it doesn't blend in necessarily with the table, but I don't mind that myself. But again, it's personal choice. Again, you can see sort of how you get these very different effects on the base from this Citadel product. And again, you know, I'm not a big advocate of Citadel, although I started in the hobby like many of us with Warhammer and the likes, but they do some very interesting paints and this one particularly was a good find, and one that I would highly recommend if you want that kind of effect for weathering. I think it's great for bases, as you can see there. So that is fundamentally my Carthaginian army to date. I hope you've enjoyed this showcase close-up of the finished products. Any questions or any feedback be greatly appreciated, and hope to bring you more videos very soon. Thanks for watching.